Alright, Legends of Gerald, host Rodney Stewart here. We're getting into Halloween Resurrection in this episode. This is, the follow up to Halloween H20, 20 years later. And, yes, it's a good enough film in its own right, but not one of the best in the Halloween franchise, which is pretty much backed up with just about everybody when it was released. Released on July 12th, 2002. Many considered it to be an unnecessary sequel to H20. Critics have deemed it to be one of the worst films in the franchise. Yeah, just agreeing with them right there. Apparently it also underperformed at the box office, and it only brought in $37.6 million worldwide against a $15 million budget. Another sequel was planned to follow, Resurrection, but the next film in the franchise became the Halloween remake in 2007 by Rob Zombie. So, this is the end of the line for, well, I was going to say the end of the line for the original series as far as Halloween went, but in saying that, H20 done away with the continuity of the three movies prior to it, so continuity really wasn't big in the franchise at one point, but I was curious. This is one of the ones I didn't see when it originally came out the first time, sitting down to watch it for this review, and it was actually pretty genius on what they did with Michael. As far as what happened at the end of the last movie, of course, Laurie beheaded Michael, and there was that little moment of, almost feeling sorry for him before she'd done it, and it turns out that it wasn't actually Michael that she beheaded. It was some poor security guard or policeman that he had knocked out and crushed his vocal cords so he couldn't speak, and dressed him up in the costume with the mask and everything, and he disguised himself as a policeman and just walked off into the distance. So after everything had happened in that movie, she's been put into a psychiatric facility because of killing the man she had mistaken for Michael Myers. Two nurses are talking about what happened. Of course, we get flashbacks at the beginning of the movie to fill you in on this here and how Michael escaped and whatnot, and just walked off into the woods as happy as Larry. Yes. So it's now October 31st, 2001. 3 years of hiding. Michael re-emerges to attempt to murder Laurie one more time. Of course, he's in this Grace Anderson's sanitarium. She's fully expecting him to come along. Of course she is. She was the prior movie. She was waiting for him to turn up for 20 years. So the nurse has been trying to medicate her. She has this little teddy bear, and they come in, give her pills and whatnot, make her drink the water. But whenever they leave, she spits out the 2 pills. She didn't swallow them, and she's been hiding the pills inside the teddy bear. There's been no stuffing inside it, and you see her open it up and she puts the 2 pills in, but the rest is full of pills in there. So she's been keeping herself alert for him coming. And the nurses also said that she was caught up on the roof a couple of times, so she's also on suicide watch at this point. But we swiftly discover that she's actually set up a trap for Michael on the roof. He doesn't arrive. He kills 2 security guards. He attacks and chases Laurie through the institution up onto the rooftop, where our trap works and incapacitates Michael. It's one of these traps where a rope catches a person by the ankle and drags him up, so he's hanging upside down on top of the building. So she's going to cut the rope and drop him to his death on the ground below him. She takes his own knife and she's just about to cut the rope whenever Michael starts to try and pull at his mask and, making her believe that maybe the same thing has happened again as what happened the last time they seen each other. So she doesn't want to risk killing another innocent person. So she decides that she needs to go over and check out and make sure that it is indeed Michael. Yeah, Michael then stabs her and throws her off the rooftop, killing Laurie once and for all. She's taken out at the very beginning of the movie. We cut to 2002, a year later, and college students Sarah, Bill, Donna, Jen, Jim, and Rudy won a competition to appear on an internet reality show called Dangertainment. So you would think, me being the podcaster and YouTuber and whatnot, that I would enjoy this movie more, because the setup for Dangertainment is like a live streamed internet show, and should be right up my street. The show's been directed by Freddie Harris and this girl Nora. The students have to spend the night in Michael Myers' abandoned childhood home in order to figure out what led him to kill. However, while setting up cameras throughout the house in preparation for the show, one of the cameramen is killed by Michael. He's returned to Haddonfield on Halloween night, as per usual. These people on Halloween night they're equipped with head cameras and microphones and whatnot, so people can actually sit and watch what's going on the internet, and they can actually have the ability from their computers to, change camera angles. They can select which person they want to follow in the house when. So it's actually an ingenious idea. So yeah, they separate into 3 separate groups to search for clues. This girl Sarah, she messages friends Miles Deckard, who's watching the live broadcast during a party he's gone to. There's a relationship between these two. This guy, Miles, he's known as Deckard online, that's his online handle, and Sarah, they never actually met face to face, but they've been talking through, message groups and whatnot online. So he's dragged off to a Halloween party that night, but he finds an office with a computer in it, and big TV and whatnot, and surround sound speakers, and starts to watch the show, slips away from the party. Throughout the movie, other people come in and say, "Oh, is this Michael Myers thing you're watching?" And then eventually, like, half the party's in this room watching the whole thing unfold. Of course, Michael Myers turns up and kills one of these guys. The girl Donna and Jim discover a wall filled with fake corpses, and realise that the show was a setup. At the start, they think that this is victims of Michael Myers, and he's been breaking them up under the walls of the house. But the guy, he lifts one of the bones of the skeletons, and it says made in Taiwan or something on it. So obviously the guy's directing this, the guy behind the show, is throwing a lot of fake stuff in here to freak them out as well, to get his hits up online. So very true to life in that sense. Yeah, Jim is killed at this point by Michael Deckard, and the other party goers that are watching it online witness the murder, but only this guy Deckard realises that it's real. Meanwhile, Freddy enters the house, the guy that's running the whole show, and he's dressed as Michael Myers in order to scare the people that are there, but he's followed by the real Michael, whom he mistakes for another person that's working with him. He's like, why the hell are you dressing up as the same? There's only one Michael Myers. Why are we dressing up identical? Get out and do something else, more or less. So while Rudy, Sarah and Jim find Freddy in the Michael costume, he reveals the scheme to them, and he begs them to cooperate. He's like, turn off your cameras and whatnot. So back at the party, everybody's just seeing a blank screen at this point, but he lets the kids in on it, and it's like, play along with it and whatnot. And, you're going to get paid for it anyway. And yeah, so some of them are thinking about leaving, but then other ones are saying, we could do with the money for being on the show. So they decide to stay. After Freddie leaves, these three kids decide to gather up the rest of their friends and leave. Jen discovers Bill's corpse. He's been killed. I'm sort of just skipping through the details of the movie here because it's not that flipping exciting, and you can see why they didn't continue on with a sequel to it. Yes, Jen, after discovering the corpse, screams, and she's upstairs, and the other three kids are down at the door of the house, the main door, and they're like, she's been played up as this girl is just in here to try and get her face out there to maybe become a Hollywood star at some point. And like, she's really going to town in this whole acting thing, little known to them that she's actually really freaked out at this point. And she's at the top of the stairs, bawling, crying, trying to tell them what's happening. Nobody's believing what she's saying. Michael pops up out of nowhere and cuts her head off in front of the three of them. And they very quickly realise that this isn't Freddy. Whenever they pop it, whenever Michael pops out at the start, they're like, oh, come on, Freddy, stop messing about. But he takes a knife, chops her head off, and throws it down the stairs at them. And yes, the chase commences to take out the rest of these kids. Yeah, so most of them get taken out very quickly. Sarah is the last one standing, and even the guy running the show at this point, you think has been taken out. He gets stabbed and falls to the floor. She locks herself in the bedroom, and she's begging Deckard to help her. She's got her phone in her pocket, and he's watching online at this party, so he's able to send her messages and let her know where Michael is at in the house. So there's a cat and mouse game here. The other party goers, they're realising now that all the murders are real. So this guy Deckard, he begins messaging Sarah Michael's location, helps her to avoid him. She runs into Freddy. He survived, the guy that was dressed up as Michael. Michael finds the two of them, and yes, I don't know, I'm sort of skipping ahead of myself, or behind myself. My notes where I'm at now are actually behind where I'm at in the movie. So she's getting chased through the house, and the tunnels in below it, and we discover a whole system below the house where Michael has... Because that's the one question that really popped up in my head where these movies were concerned, especially whenever you have Halloween H20 and, Michael Myers disappeared off the face of the planet for 20 years and appeared out of nowhere again. Turns out in this movie that he's been living underneath his childhood home all these years. He's got himself a little place down there in the tunnels and the sewer system and whatnot. So she's chased through all that sort of stuff, chased up onto the roof of the house, you name it, she's up on it. Yes, so this guy, Freddy, that was dressed as Michael, finally finds the two of them, and he starts fighting Michael. As an electrical fire starts in the garage, this is the end of the movie now. I'm really skipping over bits and pieces here. At one point, they throw Michael out of an upstairs window in the house after tying an electric cable around his neck, and they think they've hanged him. I think he's dead at this point, but this girl Sarah gets a message. Michael's still alive, and yes, we end up in a garage out beside the house, and yes, a fire breaks out. Guy Freddy, that was running the whole internet show, finds the two of them again. He starts fighting with Michael again, and Michael gets caught up in these electric cables and whatnot, and there's blood on the floor from a previous victim. So they manage to actually electrocute him at the end of the movie, and the whole place is burning down around him, and they think he's gone at this point. So later, Freddie and Sarah, they're been interviewed by the local news. During that, Sarah thinks thanks Deckard live on TV for saving her life. So at the end of the movie, they still don't meet each other face to face. That was probably going to be the setup for the next movie, but of course this one was so flipping terrible they didn't bother going ahead with it. Freddy then assaults the reporter at the end of the movie, and have a bit of respect and whatnot, leave her alone, blah blah blah. It's a fairly unremarkable and unmemorable movie, this one, I have to say. I watched it fully, but I wasn't really invested in it. Now, I have to say, now at the point of recording this, I've watched the 2 Rob Zombie movies, which are flipping phenomenal. So we'll get to them, hopefully in 2 podcast time. 3 podcast times I'll be getting into that there, as we're going through our Buffy and Angel prior to the movie sort of thing. So we've got an hour 2 podcast between this one and getting into the Rob Zombie ones. But at the end of the movie, of course, they're in the morgue, and there's a woman standing there, the doctor, that's checking out the patients, going through the post-mortems and whatnot, and these 2 guys wheeling the corpse, and they tell her that you've got a real celebrity in your hands. That's Michael Myers. So she opens up the body bag, and of course you see the charred mask there and whatnot, and then suddenly Michael's eyes open up and we cut to black. That's the end of the movie. He's still alive. So yeah, when it comes to death sequences, this isn't the most horrific one that he got in a movie, or presumed dead sequence I should say. What happened to him at the end of the original Halloween 2 was a bit more graphic than this one, but electrocution and getting set on fire is pretty damn bad too. But for me, it was more visually messed up in the original Halloween 2. So yeah, fairly unphenomenal movie. If unphenomenal is actually a proper word, it probably isn't. But yes, there's a few little laughs to be had in this one as well. Busta Rhymes, as in here's that guy Freddy that was running the show, and he's got that line, trick or treat, mother effer. I don't want to say the proper term. I want to try and keep these shows as family friendly as far as the language goes as I can. But yes, there's a few funny moments from him where he's into these old school karate movies, and then whenever he's fighting with Michael during the movie, he goes into this, jiu-jitsu sort of style fighting. Big nerd. Of course, he's running an internet show, and we're all nerds. I know for a fact, because I'm one. But it's just a bit of fun, a bit of bubblegum for the brain. But as far as the movie goes itself, standing up against the rest of them, it's probably, in my mind, it's probably the weakest of the lot. So it's understandable that they dropped the sequel and decided to go with a remake after it. So what have we got left as far as Halloween goes? Like, we've got Halloween, the remake, Halloween 2, follow up to that, and then we've got another Halloween remake which is called Halloween, and then we've got Halloween Kills, I think, and then Halloween Ends. So there's quite a few Halloweens to go yet, but I'm enjoying them more than I thought I would. I've said it before, when it comes to the old slasher movies of the 80s and 90s and whatnot, nothing beats Freddy Krueger in my mind, and of course Jason Voorhees as a close second. So yeah, it is what it is. Right, that is going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you haven't seen this movie, definitely go and check it out just for the cheesiness of it. And whenever you do get into the series of movies, because here, if you're a completist, you'll have to watch it anyway. But I'm looking forward to having a chat about the Rob Zombie movies. I actually enjoyed them a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to. So that's going to do it, guys. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.